All right, so I'm gonna start the show off and introduce, then you can introduce yourself. All right, excellent. Right on. Welcome to Chopping It Up. This week we are sitting with a local legend, a DC staple. You know, the man behind the movement. The man with 1,000 voices. I don't know if that's actually a good one. That might be concern for cause for concern. But yes, please introduce yourself, please.
Uh, hmm. Kymone Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy, co-founder of We Act Radio, co-founder of Black Love Festival, and I'm definitely not behind the movement, but I've been a supporter of the movement, and it's important to people acknowledge that 1997, the movement, the longest running open mic in the history of DC, was launched, and the Black Love Festival, the last Black cultural arts event annually, was founded in 1997, and we're just fighting to stay alive. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm excited to talk about some things. You know, I've been a big fan of your work for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I remember seeing Black Love Festival a lot of years ago,
Wow.
and just really appreciating that it existed, and I thought it was cool.
Thank you.
And I was glad that it existed in DC.
Thank you.
So I'm hopeful that maybe it will continue to
And
stay.
I always admired the name of your company, One Love Massive, because for those that know me, I say One Love as a greeting on the phone,
Right.
and people calling me like One Love, like, is that how you answer the phone? I'm like, it's my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
apparently.
know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't like the way I answer my phone, then don't call me.
Right, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's
Well, this is
simple.
a business. You know what? That's how I do business. One love.
Well, I answer the phone, yo, yo. So
Yeah.
I feel like you're doing better than I am. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I sign off emails with one love. And they're
Right.
like, oh, that's not professional. And I I'm look. That's what we do. We turn our head
Yeah,
like this.
exactly.
And I just think we do business differently.
I mean, thank God for that. You know what I mean? Professionally, whatever that means. I spent a lot of
I
time.
hate that word.
Yeah, I feel like, I spent a lot of time in real estate finance, 13 years.
Mm.
And I realized that you can be wearing a $3,000 suit and still have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes the clothes do not make the man.
Mm.
And if you want if you want to be an industry expert, it doesn't involve getting fitted for suits and being at the mall. It
Uh-huh.
means working a lot
Right.
and taking care of business. So, as a woman in that industry, I had to constantly prove, and I did that by not, adhering to the typical dress code and dress rules and acting like a professional woman. I just, pitbulled that shit, and I was really good at it, so they
Yeah.
couldn't say anything.
I never understood this when my grandmother used to say it all the time, and she would say it not like to me. It's something like, I think, one of those cliches people repeat to themselves or something. Because she would say, clean people with dirty hands and dirty people with clean hands.
What does that even mean,
Yeah,
man?
like,
What is that?
the world is topsy turvy. There's I tell my students, I run a media arts training program with We Act Radio every summer with Marion Barrett's Summer Youth Employment Program, and I instill in them, one of the things I instill in them is there has been more theft from men in suits and briefcases than a street guy with a gun.
Oh, 100%.
Sign here
Right.
versus stick 'em up. Now, who has
Right.
made off with the most?
Right.
loot?
Who's the worst? Who's the
Yeah.
worst?
Yeah.
So yeah, so tell us about let's talk about We Act Radio. What is We Act Radio? Give us the background.
We Act Radio is DC's only independent radio station. It's a full service media broadcast company as well. We was founded November 11th, 2011, at 11 a.m. And we have since produced content for national syndicated outlets. We're on WCPT in Chicago. We're on Free Speech TV in New York. We produced the #1 local broadcast for NPR for 2016, an award-winning broadcast, mind you.
What is that? broadcast?
Anacostia Unmapped. We
Nice.
produced Anacostia Unmapped was a radio series.
Because that's where the station is, right?
Yeah, we're in Anacostia. Yeah, we're east of the river because we want to make a stance on that side of town and
For
represent
sure.
those issues and be the underbelly of the nation's capital on the radical side of Martin Luther King Avenue. Last week, unfortunately, we suffered a devastating robbery. It was a personal attack, took us off air. The guys came in clean. It was a professional job. And for those who don't know, that since Trump has been in office, he's actually called the media the opposition party. And every media outlet has like doubled their security. Like you used to could walk into the lobby of a media company now, and you can't even do that.
Right.
And we didn't get the memo, I guess, and we suffered the consequences. But the outpouring of support has been tremendous. You know, and now the city knows that we have an audience. We was able to raise over $25,000 in 48 hours.
28,000 actually.
Yeah, there you go. You said it.
Oh man,
you said it. And we even had people putting lipstick on our window. It's been tremendous. So like I said before, we went from you couldn't be a progressive in Washington D.C. and not have heard of WEAC Radio. Now you can't be a progressive in Washington D.C. and not love WEAC Radio. And WEAC Radio is kind of like the stepchild of WPFW. WPFW is the mother station, the mothership, and they've been doing a fantastic job for all this time. But their audience is aging, and we're hoping that more young people would participate in independent media and see the value in that. And we're just doing what we can to put some paint where it ain't.
Well, I respect that. I definitely want to get more involved with WEAC. I don't know.
Yeah, we want to do. We're going to talk about doing this art all night together. But we got to discuss it. But
But even beyond that, I think it's important. The radio station is super huge. I've always still definitely dream of running a pirate radio station.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're a legal pirate radio station.
Yeah, I kind of want to be an illegal pirate radio.
Well, to be honest with you, I do have an AM transistor in our basement. So I can actually hook up an antenna and turn on.
All right, we're gonna have to edit this out later.
So I was gonna use that in emergency broadcast.
That's what I'm saying. So when the lights go off, right?
The lights go off. I'm definitely turning it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I got to get trained. Let me say that I'm gonna try to turn it on.
Right. I mean,
let me get with my man so I can learn how to do this.
Necessity breeds change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think if I just smoke the right stuff, I can figure it out. Weed makes you smart. They want to tell you it makes you dumb. Let me tell you, young people, weed makes you smart.
That's right.
All right. Now you can abuse anything. You can abuse anything. You can eat too much food. You can drink too much water. You can
drink too much Diet Coke about your bones.
But you know how many brilliant ideas has happened off of weed?
Hey, Steve Jobs credits LSD and hallucinogenics to like all of his inventions.
There you have it. Imagination is more important than knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. That is Albert Einstein.
I like that. So to recap, the studio is broken in. You guys I watched the whole thing unfold. You put up a fundraiser for $15,000, and you hit that in like a half a day, right?
Yeah, I hit it in less than a day. Yeah.
And then so you jumped it up because you probably realized, wait a minute, 15 ain't gonna get this done anyway.
Yeah, you was trying to do the Kendrick Lamar shit, stay humble.
Right, and then you're like, wait a minute, humility is for the birds. We need to get this stuff
replaced. Because 15 will replace everything we lost, but that doesn't play for a new security system that we obviously need.
Right, and all the downtime.
and lost wages. I'm out of work, you know what I'm saying? So if you see me in the street, please buy me a drink, hand me a J. Give me $5, you know what I'm saying? Because my kid like to eat every day. Shout out to Adasi, the organization who actually came to me and made sure I was eating, made sure I was taken care of, and all my friends who stepped up. And also we have John Chambers, my brother in arms, Bloom Bars. You bloom, we bloom. They're doing a fundraiser for us as a jam session.
That's awesome.
So we were asking all the artists to come out for that. That's September 9th. That's on Saturday. Come out for that.
Yeah, next Saturday, right?
And September's Literacy Month, because this kind of like puts our goal of creating the only bookstore east of the river on the back burner a little bit, because we're still trying to renovate our basement to create the only bookstore east of the river. We're trying to involve ourselves with some real things, and associate ourselves with, I think what we need to do is control as much as we can, Control as much as you can. And that's what you're doing. You're controlling what you can,
Trying to create a platform that can sustain and exist long after I'm gone, man.
How long has One Live Master been in existence?
15 years.
15 years. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That is, you need to be commended.
It's like either congratulatory or sadomasochistic.
I just want to thank our haters for bringing us together.
Shout out. We're not even going to name them.
Nah, I don't name them. They're the fan club.
That's right.
All our haters. Thank you.
That's right. Cheers.
You have introduced.
Cheers.
We toasted to our
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing. DC is a funny town.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very small town.
It's a small town. That's why I choose to stay here. You know, I thought about leaving a couple of times. I had an opportunity to move to New York. My mother lives in North Carolina, and she's like, "I have a house for you here, baby.
Right, what are you doing?
You ain't gotta pay rent." I'm like, "Who wants a house in North Carolina?"
Can you move the house?
Yeah, like I got this house. Yeah, where is it at?
What else comes with it?
You know, I got friends moving to Atlanta, and I'm like, Atlanta's cool. The only problem with Atlanta is in Georgia.
It's in the South. I'm afraid to go south.
That's Slim. Are you afraid to go south?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Man, I'm scared to go to Virginia after that. I don't mess around.
Last time I went to Virginia, a friend of mine got deported. Like, I don't mess with Virginia either.
Oh, my God.
That's super real, too. Yeah. On a bike ride.
On a bike ride?
Mm-hmm.
They pulled y'all on a bike.
Well, he fell. He fell and hurt himself, and they took him in the ambulance.
And they got him for
he
that?
had a little bit of weed on him.
Oh, my goodness.
So we have a no Virginia rule. Sorry, Virginia. I love you, but I'm not crossing the state line.
Virginia, I don't love you. And if you ever want to see me, you better bring your ass on this side of the
Your
bridge.
Virginia ass
on. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. I do not hang in Virginia. You know?
No, I mean, Virginia's a crazy place.
My kid has tutoring out there. I go out every Saturday for tutoring.
You get dressed up and like...
Nah, no. And so you might catch me in Virginia on a Saturday doing the kid thing. But other than that, and I went to high school in Virginia.
Oh, yeah? Where'd you go to high school?
Man, I usually don't own up to this. But it's been public record now.
Embrace it.
Yeah, I went to Mount Vernon High School in Alexandria.
Okay.
And I was like the Fresh Prince before there was Fresh Prince because crack was out when I was in high school.
What year did you graduate high school?
88.
Wow,
so,
you're the first person in the building that's been older than me. That's amazing. Yeah. You're still here. That's great.
Hey man, I'm embracing my age. I'm 47. I don't feel any kind of way about it. You know, I still got a couple of beautiful women looking at me, and I still got my strength, and so I don't have a problem with it. And a lot of my friends who are not here,
right?
You know, I feel this burden to really authentically represent, you know,
right?
And at the same time, not to repeat the same mistakes I've seen others make. And we was talking about this off air, and I wanted to get into it. It's like not going into situations based upon other people's relationships. Somebody has a relationship with A and B, and I'm C. That does not determine my relationship, you know?
Right.
You know, and, you know, so if our mutual haters has a problem, why would I have a problem? You know, we was talking about cultural appropriation or cultural exchange. I feel from what I've seen, we have a cultural exchange. A cultural appropriation is theft, you know. And I think in D.C., we have a lot of people of color who are victimized because D.C. is the only city that I know of in America that doesn't have a poor white neighborhood. And so thereby, white people are associated with wealth and black people are associated with, and I say this again, disorganized poverty, you know, because there's black people with money, but it's disorganized. Therefore, you're impoverished because you are island unto yourself and you're not working together. And people say, oh, is white people having meetings against you? Think there's a conspiracy? Yeah, there's called the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation, you know, all these think tanks. They call them think tanks. And yeah, you look what's happening. It's not a game that or an accident that we've seen white flight in the 60s, leaving these urban areas devoid of resources and tax bases, and then drugs come in and create these excruciating war zones, and then after everyone is locked up dead or in jail, or they buy up property cheap and they sell it, you know, at an all-time high rate. And what white people, not you, but what white people need to realize, who are gentrifiers that come into this area, that they was been exploited too. This is a developer's dream, because what they do is 30 years ago, somebody came to these white areas and said, you know that those people are moving in, and you better sell now before the prices drop and you lose all that you worked for, and da-da-da. So they move. And then their kids 30 years later are going to move back to the same area and pay these ridiculous prices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they are
Right.
ridiculous prices.
Yeah,
whether you can, quote unquote, afford them or not. And a lot of people cannot afford them. That's another a fallacy. Everybody ain't paid. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, the area median income might be $100,000, but most people are not making $100,000.
No,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? That means somebody's making 5, 6, 7, or what upwards of that, and then there's the rest of us. You know?
Right.
So that I know personally of 3 white guys who live in a $3,000 a month apartment, and it's a 2-bedroom. So
Right.
and what they told me is that whoever doesn't have a girl gets the couch. There's a couch and there's 2 beds. If you don't have a girl, you get the couch. And they rotate.
I'm just thinking about all the disgusting germs that must be on
There you
those
go.
beds. I'm sorry,
There
I
you
got
go.
a little distracted.
So
by
you
that.
think because they got the concierge and the gym
Right.
and the granite kitchen countertop that they getting it? There's 3 dudes in there.
Right, struggling, and then not only that, but a lot of those apartments are garbage.
Yeah, I
The
mean they're
walls
small.
are thin. You
come
can't
on, man.
smoke weed in them without
Oh,
your
my
neighbors
goodness.
go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's really not like.
Yeah, so they're not getting it. So this city really needs to understand that they are at the verge of a crisis. It's a housing crisis. Most people are paying more than 30% of their income in housing.
I live in Trinidad and I'm still paying.
Trinidad. Do you see what I'm saying? Come on, man. Like I'm just blessed. I'm like in an artist housing, and that's the only
Right.
reason I'm able to survive. I'm in the artist housing, and I think that they shouldn't have affordable housing. And I don't like the word workforce housing. That means if you can have a job in the city, then you should be able to live in the city with 30% of the income from that job in that city. That's workforce housing, and that's not the case.
Where's the balance? Yeah.
So we can talk more about that you drive the conversation. I had to get that off my chest.
It's okay. I mean, I'm just here to chat with you. There's no.
How long we got?
We got all the time in the world. We can say and do whatever we want.
Molly, I your reputation precedes you.
I'm counting on it.
Look, man, let's be real. There's I can't think of the brother's name. He's no longer with us. Unfortunately. He's a white brother. He produced a couple films. I'm a aspiring filmmaker.
Right.
We're gonna talk.
I'm with it, man.
And he produced Yo MTV Raps.
Okay.
I can't think of his name. He's no longer with us. He's also produced the film with Johnny Depp when Johnny Depp was a drug dealer. Anybody helping you out? Blow or something?
Oh yeah, that was a big movie.
Was it Blow?
Blow when he was.
It was Blow? Yeah.
He sold a lot of coke.
Yeah, he did that. He did that film.
Mm.
He's no longer. He had a heart attack or something.
Oh man.
Anyway, had it not been for him, Yo MTV Raps wouldn't have happened. And another thing we need to mention: the president of NPR, as of 2 years ago, when I was there, was a producer on Yo MTV Raps.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll put that out there. Anyway, and so what I'm saying is that Yo MTV Raps really is the quintessential watershed moment for hip hop in terms of bringing it to the masses. Yo MTV Rap brought the masses hip hop.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand that this cultural exchange is good, because we're trying to break down the system of white supremacy and exclusion and what have you. In order to do that, all of us got to wake up. And the masses of people, the young people, I think, have really bought into this exclusion, this exchange. It's the old passing guard that's clinging to their guns and their Bible.
Right.
Because they would throw their kids out the house.
Right. Well, I mean, the younger generation is just like, fuck all your stereotypes. You got dudes that look like they could beat you up wearing like drop pearl earrings and skirts and shit. Just like, fuck with me, right? And I really respect that, because they're just changing the gender norms and societal norms.
Shout out to Check It. That was a gay gang that was whooping everybody's ass. They're my next door neighbors in Anacostia. They now run a legitimate business. Check It Enterprises. Shout out to them.
That's awesome. That's from gang to
gangs
LLC.
to entrepreneurs.
That's amazing. I like the sound
like
of that.
you bad. You wear a dress and be like whoop somebody's ass.
Right.
and pick your purse up.
Right. And saunter right on out of there, But I love the fact that they've really challenged all those norms, and so and like you could go to the flea market or the thrift store and buy whatever you can afford, and none of it could match, and you could wear it, and you could be the coolest guy in the room now, right? So like the poverty, lands, like all those things don't come in play. You look at these younger generation, you put 10 dudes, 10, 20-year-old dudes in a room, and there's no common denominator. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their own style, their own swag, everything else. And so I think that it's just, the kids are getting it way more right than the adults,
Yeah, because this no one's born with biases or prejudices or racism. That stuff is handed down and taught and instilled in people, and we're trying to break the cycle. I actually am convinced that we are witnessing the dismantling of the old changing guard. The white supremacy model is falling apart. Like, did you ever see the movie Free State of Jones?
No.
What's the brother name? I love this cat. Is it Matthew McConaughey? Is his name?
Yeah, McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
I love him. I love his wife more. She's Brazilian. He had good taste. But anyway, Free State of Jones. I had never heard of this.
Me neither.
But Free State of Jones there were during the Civil War, people who was fighting for the Confederate side. They were conscripted to fight, drafted or whatever. But if you owned slaves or had, money, you could buy your way out of serving. So because I can't think of the name of what that law was. So that caused a lot of infighting. And so there was a lot of deserters from the Confederate side. And at that time, if you was a deserter, you can get shot on the spot.
Right.
All right. So they ran to the swamps.
By anybody, no less.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and who are in the swamps? The runaway slaves. So these runaway Confederate soldiers joined with the fugitive slaves and created their own Free State of Jones.
That's amazing.
They combined and they worked together. And they were liberated pockets in the South that wasn't playing that stuff, And people, and the story is just fascinating to me because it shows when working class people work together and don't subscribe to the racist notion that America has taught all of us, that you're Mexican, you're not supposed to be with Puerto Ricans, and you're Dominican, you're not supposed to be with Haitians, and you're white, you're not supposed to be with black, and if you're Christian, you're not supposed to be Muslim. They do all this divide and conquer so they can run shit. And I think we're starting to get hip to how we've all been exploited by the same system, and I think their time is running out in maintaining that system.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the silver lining in this, mess that this whole country not is in now, but has been in. But it's just really bubbled to the surface with all the, armed Nazis in the streets and everything else. But I think you're right. I think, while it seems overwhelming and, really alarming, I think it's also just showing how weak and stupid and unorganized they are. I mean, in Charlottesville, the tiki torches, young, you couldn't have made a fucking torch, man. Soak a rag with gasoline and wrap it around a stick. You guys couldn't even make your own, it's really that incapable. It's these belief systems, and the more comfortable they are in putting them out, the easier it is to identify them and shut them down and really expose them for what they are.
Well, a lot of people need to know, and they don't know, and they wasn't told by a black president or two black attorney generals or another Democratic president before them. Was the FBI had a report, 2006 report that confirms that law enforcement has been infiltrated by white supremacists. They're called ghost skins, and they don't use tiki torches or wear swastikas or scream white power or anything like that. They just quietly accept positions of power, judges and criminal justice positions to further their agenda. And that's what we're seeing. That's why you see, these cases with Black Lives Matter. That's why you see these officers not being, treating those guys with torches, beating up people the same way they treat unarmed. Like Ferguson, they was throwing tear gas,
before anything even.
Yeah. So what's up with that? So there you have it. And so that's all out in the open there. And that's what we need to do is tell these stories and urge people in our circles, and because the revolution starts around the dinner table. We're discussing it right now. The fact that you and I are discussing these issues, I think, is revolutionary.
Agreed.
And I think that we need to recognize the power that we do have, and we're the real voice of the city, and we're the real people in this country, and we need to recognize that and throw the bums out, as Prince would say. You remember Pop Life?
Right.
Throw the bums out. Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Shout out to Prince. I think he was killed, by the way. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy. Shout out Dick Gregory. I'm a conspiracy theorist like Dick Gregory. If you either believe everything you see here and read, or you believe in the validity of some conspiracies.
Oh yeah,
you can't have it both ways. You either believe everything you see here and read, or you believe in the validity of some conspiracies.
I'm a 25%er. That's my.
What's 25%?
I believe 25% of everything I hear.
Oh yeah, 25% of everything you hear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's dope.
Good or bad. You know what I mean?
Good or
because
bad.
you can't subscribe to anything 100%
So,
unless you saw it yourself.
You got 2 ears, 2 eyes. So you counting on
Like
one ear or 1 eye.
I take it all in. I master the track. You know what I'm saying? I take the 25.
Take the 25. I'm gonna roll with that. That sounds like an accurate number.
Because it's like. Even the conspiracy theory documents, you're like, all right, I'm with you, and then, all right, you lost me like that.
Yeah, off the aliens. Now you lost me off the aliens.
Like, come on, man.
And that might be true, but I'm agnostic as it comes to aliens, because it makes no difference in my world. You know what I'm saying? The existence or non-existent of aliens, unless you're telling me that the aliens are these people who are actually in positions of power. Now,
I mean, I low key think
reptilian thing. You know.
I mean, I low key think Oprah's an alien. But
you think Oprah's an alien?
A little bit.
Which one? the fat Oprah or the skinny Oprah?
The older, more millionaire-esque Oprah.
Okay.
But she's doing good things. I'm
you
not mad
told Harpo to beat me. Shout out to Oprah on The Color Purple. I give her that. She was the only person that was kicking ass in the Color Purple. She was kicking ass. She knocked out the mayor. She knocked out her husband. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody was off chain was in her sight.
Oprah.
Shout out to Oprah.
Yeah, I mean she's a beast. Let's just put it out there. I mean,
yeah, but but I got issues now. I'm talking about Oprah in that movie now, and then we talk about that I got some issues with Oprah, the mogul. You want to hear him?
I got issues with all millionaires, frankly. You know what I mean?
There's not a millionaire you like?
Dude, if I had millions of dollars and millions of Twitter followers, I would start a fucking revolution like that.
Hey, shout out to Ted Leonis. We need to get together September 30th at the Politics and Pros. They're doing a fundraiser for us there.
Nice.
Derek Hyra, who produced a book called Cappuccino City. I urge you to read that book.
Word.
Cappuccino City. I urge our viewers to check that book out. It really really explains the commodification of our culture and how you have all these buildings named after black people, but no black people can afford to live in them.
Right.
And that makes it more acceptable. It talks about the private bar. I can't think of the name of the private bar. Guys, help me out. Y'all got more money, disposable money than I do. It's next door to Marvin's. It's a little gray building, unlocked door, inconspicuously in between Marvin's. It's a speakeasy, and you have to text to get in, and it's like overpriced drinks, and it's because they want the ghetto experience. They want to be right next to that ghetto liquor store. They want to walk in, past the seedy people to get in it, and it's like black branding. And the Cappuccino City actually talks about the marketing of this, and it really breaks it down. And Ted Leonis, for those who don't know, is the owner of the Washington Mystics and the Wizards.
Oh, wow.
And he's coming to Southeast, and he raves about this book. And so Derek Hyra has agreed to do an interview with WEAC Radio on September 30th, Politics and Pros. And we're waiting for Ted Leonis to confirm. Ted, we need to hear from you. Come through.
What's up, Ted?
Ted, come through. You come to Southeast on my side of town, bro. We need to do this, man.
That's right.
All right. So yes, if I was a millionaire, there would be a revolution, because that's unfortunately what's going to have to happen.
Right.
A millionaire would have to fund a revolution.
Right. Like first thing I would do is like pay all the unpaid like school lunch tabs across the country. Bam. Done.
Word?
Yeah. Cause the kids, man. The kids, like adults are already kind of damaged. We need to work on them, but we need to let the kids lead. And if you make sure the kids are fed and the kids are nourished,
you offer some free breakfast program.
I mean, I don't, I'm not intelligent enough to speak on that, like from a city's, resource standpoint. But I just don't think kids should be hungry.
No.
Ever.
No.
And like, there's enough money. Like, if you can go to the speakeasy and get texted in and pay $20 for a drink, then you can like throw $20 towards a lunch program.
I see these kids selling M&Ms on the train, right? And I see how people like look at them disgustingly. I'm like, yo, you need to support that. These kids are out here showing you some entrepreneurial spirit, trying to do things the right way, and you're looking at them like they begging you for something. You could, give
And
them
you
a
know
dollar.
you want those M&Ms.
Yeah, give them a
Stop
dollar for the
fronting.
freaking M&M.
Right.
And what freaked me out is that the kids I'm talking about, I would give them a dollar, sometimes $2, and I'm like, I don't need the M&Ms. So like, no, this is, we don't do charity.
Like we have to.
Like that was his word. Like we don't do charity. He's like 8 years old. He's telling me we don't do charity. Take the M&Ms. I'm like,
Right.
I appreciate that, little brother, but I don't need the M&Ms.
Right.
So you're gonna take these M&Ms. Like he threw the M&Ms. Like you gonna take, and I seen him several times, and that's his thing. They don't do charity. I'm like, here's an 8-year-old that I have to respect.
For sure.
He's
working harder than some.
I mean, come on, man. And I think that we need to make our minds up, and I think that capitalism makes us desensitized to the humanity of people.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of live in this bubble here at One Love Massive. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that I respect and love, and a lot of art and music and creatives, and my life is pretty great. And so I've been I haven't witnessed a lot of the new DC stuff that people that work in bars are dealing with this new DC, this really awful side to thing. And every once in a while I'll get like a little glimpse, but for me, new DC isn't really defined by the people that are moving in. But it's just this level.
They always count the people moving in. They don't count the people that's moving out.
Well, and they're not counting the people that are like nodding out in wheelchairs in front of CVS every day, like and that's what I see more and more every single day is the disparity of like grown men and women who did what they were supposed to, and then if you don't have a family, if you don't have support, maybe they all died. What happens when you're 75 and you lose a leg? Who's supposed to take care of you? No one grows up thinking, when I get older, I want to sit in front of the CVS on a wheelchair and nod out.
That reminds me, again, I talk about my grandmother a lot because she took me to the top of the Washington Monument, the highest point in the city, and she told me I can be anything, I can do anything, and she was the person that believed in me before anyone else. So I always credit her for so much in my mind. And she slapped me one time. My grandma slapped me once, and it was because she had gave $5 to this homeless man, and this is like in the 70s, right? I'm a kid, and so she gave $5. That's like giving $20 a day, right? And so I was like, Grandma, why you give that bum $5? She popped me in my mouth. She said, I don't want you to ever call another human being a bum. You don't know who he is or what he's done or what he's been through.
Him, or who,
She was like, we'll see how you end up. Let's see where you be when it's over. Let's see where you end up, how you end up. And that always scares me. So today, homeless people scare me. The only thing I'm scared of is homeless people because I look at them, especially if they're older than me. I'm looking at them like, I got to work harder.
That's me.
You know what I'm saying? I got to make sure I don't end up like this.
That's me, yeah.
And so I always respect people's humanity.
But here's the thing. You could work as hard as you possibly can.
Oh, work hard is, yeah. I mean, let me clean that up.
Let me
clean that up. Yeah, let me clean. I sound Republican right there. Let me clean that up. Let me clean that up.
I wasn't going to go
there.
there.
I'm just saying because that the interpretation of the people that's viewing this is that the common, if they just work hard to get a job.
Pull up your bootstraps.
Yeah,
right?
that's BS because nobody worked harder than my grandmother or millions of other people's grandparents. Come on there. My grandmother was not Jamaican and had 3 jobs, and she took me to 2 of them.
She
you know what I'm saying? So
Jamaican. I like that. Clarify that.
So don't I would come to blows with somebody accusing us of being lazy. Because you don't know what hard work is. Who built this country,
Right.
So what are you talking about? But this country is based on exploitation. It has exploited people. And we need to understand that. That's what capitalism does. It exploits people.
100%.
And we need to, have a socialist democracy that puts some reins on that. Like you should not have to pay the highest possible amount for housing. It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
Especially
ridiculous.
when you look at like so I recently had this conversation with this woman when they were shutting down one of the homeless encampments under the K Street Bridge in Northeast like a month or so ago.
They was closing homeless encampments.
Yeah,
the people with tents
like
and stuff.
Tents, a little tent city under the bridge. And so what had happened? There's like two like one on K and one on L, and somebody had overdosed and died in one of the tents, and nobody realized it for a few days. And so when they did, they like cleaned all the areas out. And there was some like reports of violence and different things going on. That's what the city said. So I got very upset about it, and I really got.
They created that scenario.
Yeah, well, that's it. I was like, well, where are they going? Where are you putting them tonight? You know, I mean, I definitely was very, I was very aggressive with the conversation because I was really upset to see, you know, because I ride my bike by there every day, and I, you know, help them out when I can. I bring them food during the holidays, and you know, I'm aware of some of the people under there because they're in my neighborhood, and so, you know, with REI opening up right down the block, people had like really nice tents, and in this one particular tent city, they had like this is what really got me. They had American flags, like little flower pots with American flags in them on like in the front of their tent.
How you poor and patriotic? Like how that work?
You know what I'm saying? Like how like I'm angry on your behalf. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Patriot. You know, like, and that just like, you know, wow, like what you know.
And then people be like, I don't want to give them money. All they're gonna do is get high and get drunk. I'm like,
man, I drink just to get through an average
day.
Saying?
Like what? You want to be broke and sober? Like how that's supposed to like really
right.
like.
Right. How many martinis did you have last week, Tom?
You know what I'm saying? Like really? You know,
Yeah.
I seen this commercial and the lady, she's smoking a cigarette and she's drinking a coffee and she just popped the volume and she's driving by and she see the guy, drug addicts.
Right.
Like yo, you just popped a pill, drinking coffee and smoking a cigarette
in your car.
In your car.
Yeah, I mean it's
addicts.
a real problem we have, and I think that's the new DC that just is really difficult to swallow because I see it more and more every day, especially with the older population of people experiencing homelessness.
So how long have One Love Massive been in your current location?
A year.
A year. Yeah.
1 year.
And your leaseholder, I don't use the word landlord. Your leaseholder, Thomas Hart. This is this cultural exchange. Molly, who is battling accusations of appropriation, but she's renting a space owned by a black man across from our theater, and like really,
and
like
then Grindstone Universal is downstairs.
Grindstone is downstairs. Like this is cultural exchange.
Well, and also Grindstone is my business part. So there's One Love Massive, but then there's DC as LLC, and so Grindstone is my partner on that. So,
oh, really?
So the DC is fuck shirts, which everybody.
Shout out to Grindstone. I'm representing.
Exactly.
You got that? You got it?
Always support.
And my socks too. I'm rocking it all the way down to the socks, G.
That's right.
I got you, homie.
G to the socks. Like for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and him partnered up on the shirt idea. So actually, it's not just a white woman peddling DC as fuck.
Oh, the DC as fuck.
Yep.
Grindstone was with you on that?
Yep.
So people have been talking about.
They really have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? And one is justifiable rage misguided.
Right. I mean, so in all fairness, and I joke about this all the time. If I was someone else looking in, I'd be like, who's this white broad? Like what is this? Like I would be super suspect of me too, because there is a lot of appropriation going on. And especially in DC, people want to, like graffiti culture is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get caught doing graffiti, like you're going to go to jail. But then you look at the cover of Forbes and every like cool art blog in DC, and what are they doing? Standing in front of a graffiti wall, right? So they made it's the same thing. It's like they made it cool, but if you happen to be the kid with a can in your hand the night before, you might go to jail or you might get shot because you probably got a hoodie on and you got a can in your hand that might look like a gun to a cop from a few feet away. Yeah. So you're literally risking your life and your freedom to do that. You know what I mean? But then it's totally cool to stand in front of that picture, right? So it's kind of like it's a lot of that going on where it's just like, people make a lot of assumptions about things.
Yeah, they call graffiti hieroglyphics in Egypt.
Right. I mean, straight up, right? Like people study those and learn about cultures and things like that. And so, I mean, look, Cool Disco Dan. That's a great example. Everybody's celebrating him, and don't get me wrong.
It was white filmmakers that brought that out.
Yeah,
did his documentary. And that's how we know the story. I saw that documentary. They did a great job.
It's an interesting, I definitely am very aware of the space that I take up, and so for me personally, I left home at 17, and I've had a bunch of spinal issues.
You left home at 17?
Yes, sir.
I left home at 17. So, was it voluntary?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine
was involuntary.
Well, I went to college per my family's request. They really wanted me to get it right, and I got there and I did not get it right. I just it was not for me.
What school?
George Mason University.
Oh, okay.
And I showed up and my roommate never showed up, and so I didn't go to anything for the first 3 weeks because I shut down. I was so uncomfortable. I was like really out of my element. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't want to be there, and I didn't go to any classes. So by the third weekend, I had already failed. every class, and I was just like living, this crazy
Interesting.
lie. And so I left before finals, and I moved. I got a one-way ticket to Boston, and I got a job as a live-in nanny up there. And I called my parents and said, "Hey, really sorry, but I'm not in Fairfax, and I'm not coming back," because I felt genuinely terrible that I'd wasted their money. But now as an adult, I'm like, did you know me at all? Why didn't you put me in business school? Like, you know what I mean? Now as an adult, I can look back at my formative years and be like, I was like the CEO and founder of the Multicultural Awareness Committee, the Homeless Committee. I was on every sports. Like I was like, someone should have been like,
still with us?
Put us in big. Yes, they are.
Good. So they see you. How do you feel about where you are now?
I don't know. They're super hands off, to be honest. They're not very active in my life. They raised me to be really independent, and I think that leaving the house at 17, and I just never went back. But I have spinal issues and surgeries. Yeah, I was just born. I was just born with some stuff, but it's just part of my story and part of what makes me me. But I've had to really struggle, and be in pain and be in surgeries and stuff. And so for me, I've just lived my life, and I have embraced those who have embraced me. And so here I am. This is my life. One Love Massive is not an appropriation of things. Like, I love hip hop and I love graffiti and I've loved that shit my whole life. So
I didn't plan on saying this because I said this off air and I didn't. And when I said it, I'm like, yeah, that's a true statement. If I was a white woman, I would be you.
That's like the greatest compliment. I love that. It's
and I think we need to get real about what we talking about here and know who our enemies are. Here's a little brief history lesson for those who don't know. The Black Panther Party was funded by white people. Okay, Jane Fonda, John Lennon, a whole lot of people put up money to of course they were self-sustaining with the newspaper, but they was funded. They got a lot of money from white people. We didn't understand that. All right, they did not run the Black Panther Party, but they helped fund the Black Panther Party. Another thing, John Brown, and that's the film I want to make, and I hope that you would take me up on the offer. I would love to work with you. The greatest white man who ever lived, and that's not just me saying that. That's late great Baba Dick Gregory said that. Not only started the Civil War, he sacrificed his life and his sons, all 5 of them, for this. Okay, Dick Gregory's name, since we brought him up, we only know him because Hugh Hefner, that pimp, right. Hugh Hefner, I said pimp. I mean, he straight up put Dick Gregory on.
Right.
And unfortunately, if we go back, there's all these success stories where some conscientious white person of means shared their resources and made something possible for the resistance.
For sure. For sure.
And so we cannot write everybody off. And then there's black people who sold us out. Every slave revolt was thwarted by a black slave who snitched. Every one of them. Every single one of them. And we need to understand that, And every time I've had a physical altercation with a person, they look like me. I've never had a physical altercation with a white person. And I'm not off this Jim Brown say, well, all the greatest people in my life have been white folks.
No.
I'm not saying that. See, that's where life gets tricky. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't, it's not all or nothing. It's a case by case joint. Now, I will submit to you that I give black people a little extra credit because I know they're suffering from mental illness. So I take a little bit more stuff, all black people down with white people. So I think I give all black folks a little credit. And all white people I look at suspiciously until they show me something different.
I mean, me too. Like,
I'm just something that I will say that.
We all should, as humans on this planet.
Some white dude with a suit and a briefcase come to me. I'm looking like somebody would look at somebody walking down the street looking shady. That's my response.
Right, like who did you sell today?
He has a briefcase. He has some suit on. I gotta be on my guard, So I just want to say that. I mean, I think it's 2017. And I have an 8-year-old. Will he be 8 next month? He's in the studio with us. What's up, Capper? Okay. And I don't want him to go through a lot of stuff that we went through. You had some messed up stories. I got some messed up stories.
Right.
Have you ever had a a situation where your taste has messed up other white people's impression of you?
Every day, every time I open my mouth.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're not one of us.
I offend people constantly just with my existence. You know what I mean? But
I got a lot of shade, because you got to understand, I'm doing a Black Love Festival, right? I go from that, I'm doing to We Act Radio. We Act Radio, I have a white business partner. He's the executive director of Social Security Works. Shout out to Social Security Works on the rights We Act Radio. I'm a sellout now because I have a white business partner. Or,
right.
I'm working with, Enos Shalal. They know him as Andy Shalal, from Busboys and Poets. Or I did an event with a developer where we was debating gentrification.
Right.
The mayor and I was on speaking terms for quite some time. Not now, unfortunately, but quite some time before she was mayor. And these were questionable relationships that made me a sellout in the eyes of people I respect. And I don't want to call nobody names out, but it hurts me when I hear it. And I'm like, you don't know me? You would think that, you've done something for, long enough to create a body of work that would justify who you are and what you're about. And no, it's not enough. It's all about appearances to some people, and they don't understand. And for the most part, it's people that don't know how to play chess. I have problems with. If you don't know how to play chess, I typically have a problem with you because you will not understand none of my moves because you don't understand strategy. I run a radio station. I have to be able to talk to these people. Now, there's no one can ever say, "Kymone, kiss somebody's butt." I challenge even my haters to come up with one of those scenarios. I challenge my haters, all of y'all. Come up with one time you can say I kiss somebody's butt. Good luck with that. But so how can you say because I'm talking to somebody that there's a problem? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I mean it's ignorance and fear, and I've been
ignorance and fear. It's how they control the entire freaking world.
Straight up, and I was just really thinking,
and money, ignorance, fear, and money.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this like a lot, like with cultural appropriation, because when I posed this question on Facebook the other day, I said, okay, so, just giving this some thought, what if someone is adopted and they're not sure of their cultural identity or their ethnic identity, Are they not allowed to represent any culture? Are they not allowed to wear a dashiki because maybe they're not from Africa? Are they not allowed to rap, or are they not? You know what I mean? Like, how do you draw the line, right? You know what I mean? Like, what's appropriating and what's just someone celebrating their own culture? I hung out with somebody yesterday who's like 7 different things, like 2 different versions of Native American, Italian, that's where we are, Black, and Irish. Like, what are you in French? I'm like, so what is he? You know what I mean? So what's he allowed to do? What's he allowed to say? You know what I mean? And then you're just going to go off of that based on looking at someone, and you're just going to make a snap judgment about them based on their skin color. And like, while I totally am on board with this, like, reverse racism doesn't exist, but like biases exist. And if you judge someone based on how they look, specifically their skin color, then like you're just, perpetuating this madness. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way, and it's the same thing with gender identities. A lot of the people that really want to define the gender identities are the same people that don't want to be looked at and then given a title based on how they look, right? Whether it's gender or identity or whatever, yet are the same people like fighting to have those titles, Steph Grant's dope since '88. He's like one of my favorite. Bomani Arma and Steph is like my 2 favorite Facebook feeds because they always like drop a lot of knowledge. And Steph is like, hey, everyone's so woke now, we don't even need to fight. Like, y'all are just tearing each other down. You know what I mean? Like, finding like problems in everything. And meanwhile, there's like Nazis on the streets with guns. Like, the enemy is super clear. And like insisting that someone is racist. No, you're racist. No, you're racist. No, I'm not racist. Maybe I'm getting the dialogue wrong, but I swear I'm not racist. Okay, well then tell me how the dialogue goes. But instead, people would rather fight to the death to prove that someone's racist while there's literally a Nazi outside with a gun in his hand saying, yeah, I hate black people. So like, we have to like, dude, the enemy is mad clear. The enemy is also super hidden, but like, You know, I give this analogy a lot. Like, if you have a basketball team and someone shows up and is like, I played hockey my whole life, but I really want to be down with basketball. Let me get on the court. You'd be like, that's cool, but you should sit on the bench and get the towels and peel the oranges and learn the game for a few, and then we'll throw you out there. So if you have people that want to be allies, you'd be like, cool, take that intention and just sit down and shut the fuck up for a minute, and we will tell you how to move forward, but don't insist that they're racist because they said something racist once, or they're not fully understanding the depths of things. Like, take that hockey player and teach them how to be a basketball player. You know what I mean? Take that ambition and that desire, because there's plenty of people out there that have no desire to relate.
I think everyone should see the movie, the film. The movie is Soul Plane and Booty Call and, you know, The Sin of a Woman. You know, those are movies. The film, Godfather, you know, Color Purple, you know, and American History X.
Yeah.
American History X, I think, is the most accurate analysis on how you create a racist and how you deconstruct a racist. And I think everyone should see that. American History X, forget the actor's name, I love him.
Such a powerful movie. Such a hard movie to watch, man.
Very painful. Avery Brooks was in it. I can't think of my white brother right now. He also was in 24 Hours with Spike Lee. That was another great film. I think everyone should see that. I think everyone should read, you know, Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. I think it should be required reading in school. You know, but they don't want this type of information in front of people. They enjoy ignorance. And another thing is that, to explain to your point on why a lot of people get it wrong, the confusion is because the setup breeds confusion. For instance, let me explain myself. If I am against quote unquote Obamacare, you know, that my answer is no, I'm against Obamacare. That is a unified front. No, I'm against Obamacare. On the yes side, well, I'm for Obamacare. Some people like, well, I'm for single payer healthcare. I'm for universal health care for everybody. I'm for, you know, there's a lot of yeses. See, a yes opens up the Pandora's box to a myriad of versions of yes.
Right.
No is unified.
Right.
And there lies the problem. And that's why the opposition is as strong as they are, because no is simple, whereas yes opens up the Pandora's box of opportunities and variations. And it's hard for us to unite around yes.
Well, we don't even have like a clear game plan. You know what I mean?
No, we don't. No, we don't. And
I don't even know who you is. Democrats. I mean,
you know, I would let that go.
Right. It's like everyone.
This two-party political system is pimping all of us, and we need to understand that. We need to, you know, we need to circumvent the system. We need to pick the lock.
You know what I think we need to do? So I have a theory on this. Like,
we need a free state of Jones.
It's a little like Shawshank Redemption. Like chip away at the
one
wall.
of my favorite films.
But what if, you know, instead of building yachts, you know, or having 17 cars in a garage, what if like every person of color with X amount of millions of dollars funded 25 young government people, like starting the schools, go to like the fake government shit they do in high school, whatever they call it, and like recruit those people and pay for them to go to college and groom them to be council members and mayors and everything else, right? Like, if we want to play the game, let's play the game, and like let's take those kids that show that interest in that stuff and then lift them. Like, fuck a record deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finance my political campaign. Let me get on Ward 7, Ward 8, or whatever it is in your city. You know what I mean?
Taylor Owens, can we get some money for that? We got $10 million for East of the River. Why don't we put a little piece of that?
You know? Enable some kids. What is it, student council? Isn't that what it's called? Student council and like the mock government stuff they do in high school? You can find the kids that are really interested in that and just continue to keep them interested in that.
I know a young man right now. His name is Marcus Batchelor. He's in Anacostia. He's in the East of the River, I should say. He's like school board. He's on the school board. And he is actually purposely grooming himself on pace to become mayor. He's like 20 years old.
And we need more of that.
And he is like, he's on his path,
right?
You know, and I want to encourage him. I look at him and I see his sincerity, and he's clear, you know, and let's hope he doesn't get corrupted. You know?
Well, that's what we have to make sure doesn't happen, right? If we had this system in place, like we groom basketball players,
Yeah.
we groom hockey players and
I like the
baseball
idea.
players, why not groom young senators? Why not shake it up? And then if they got enough money, you know, and then, you know, I think it's also, you know, I joke often about running for mayor, which I don't really want to do, but my whole campaign would be like the empty Facebook profile, like there's nothing there, and it would all be like Snapchat and Instagram stories, and just get everyone in the city who doesn't normally vote to vote, and like it would rock the boat. You know what I mean? Just change, like take it out of the old guard. It's 2017. Nothing is the same as it was in 2010 or 2001 or 1990,
You know,
except for the voting system.
It's only been one white woman that's run for mayor that I know of. It's Carol Schwartz, and she was a Republican. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I don't want to be mayor. I would
I'm
bankrupt
just
this
saying.
whole town. It'd be up in flames.
Only one white woman I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. It's Carol Schwartz, and she was a Republican, which means I don't think that counts. I don't think that counts. You know, it'd be interesting.
I'd be like, free weed for everyone. Vote for me. I would crush.
I mean,
I
Slim.
would crush.
Ian Shalal ran for mayor. I wish he had gotten a little farther in his
Actually,
effort.
I donated to his campaign when
really?
he did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish he had not ran as a Democrat. I wish he had ran as an independent. I think that he would had more traction because he was trying to fit into, he was trying to play down his Arabic background, his Muslim background, and he was trying to fit into the mold of da-da-da. He had some great ideas. I just think that he would have gotten farther as a more radical candidate.
Well, and I think educating people too. We've been talking about this a lot, like creating like a cheat sheet before local elections. Because how many times have you gone into like an election to vote for something and there's like a bunch of names on there you don't know who they are, and you just either
you don't
check
know who
the
they
box.
are because they're not a factor in your life.
Right. So like, why don't we have cheat sheets? Like, why isn't somebody making a cheat sheet that's like, here's 10 questions and how all of them answered it. This one is pro this, anti that. Just break it down for people.
Well, maybe that's something We Act Radio should do.
I mean, I think that would be great, and I would
Maybe
love
we
to
should
get
do it for
involved
the
with that.
Yeah, the cheat sheet for the next election.
Layman's guides. If you're not going to city council meetings, if you're not going to ANC meetings, you have no idea any of that shit.
Let's do that.
Break it down for people, man. What is this guy about? What has he voted for in the past? What is he trying to do?
Are you gonna call people full of shit that are full of shit?
I mean, dude, I don't know. It's all I can do, man. You know what I mean? I'm Irish. I'm honest.
The Fighting Irish.
Hey,
Did you watch that fiasco with McGregor?
Hell no. Hell no.
I didn't watch that shit either.
Hell no. Any self-respecting Irishman just drank Jameson in silence that night.
Anacostia, there was a sign. There was a protocol. There was no Irish or black people allowed in Anacostia.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I can show you the sign. The signs. No Irish, no black people in Anacostia.
Yeah.
And then for someone to give me shit because I'm willing to work with you.
Right.
What? Like what? Why? What's the problem? We need to.
Well,
I've done some stuff that I'm sure. I got haters. On multiple levels. You might hear some about me.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be a good story. No matter what it is.
Yeah.
Well, you got
Kymone was with a white girl.
Oh man.
Did you know that? You know that Mr. Black Love was with a white girl.
Oh man.
You got a picture? Can you prove it? There's one picture that do exist though. There's one picture.
You are so funny.
There's only one picture.
For now, if you have that picture, send it to me. Molly, it will love massive. Oh man, yeah,
this is fun.
It is fun, man. I really enjoy these conversations.
I hope our audience, for all the millions of people viewing this, got something out of it.
I do. I think they did. Let's hope so. Anyway, I'm gonna turn this AC up a little bit. Well, I think that we kind of talked about this a little bit outside. I feel like, we just got to be leaders.
We are the leaders we've been waiting for.
We just got to be leaders, and we can't get hemmed up on some dumb shit. Grindstone actually said yesterday, cry in the shower, get cake in the streets.
Cry in the shower, get cake in the street.
And Grindstone just has a way of saying
he would say so.
Yeah,
he's the king of one-liners, man.
He's pimpisms all day
And shout out to
long.
Grindstone because he's also quite an artist, and I love some of his music, and I want to do more. Now that I have We Act Radio, the audience has grown. due to our unfortunate circumstances, of course. But because our audience has grown, I want to do more on the music side. We're a progressive talk radio station,
right.
but I want to do more on the music side because somebody just hit me to something. Because I was like, okay, after 8 o'clock, nobody wants to hear the progressive talk, so we stopped playing music.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought these were throwaway hours, and it was like, no, in Europe, these are prime time hours.
Oh hell yeah!
I'm like, Europe. I never thought about it.
It's like
I need to internationalize my shit.
Yeah, man, get on that.
Shout out to South Africa. I'm just got introduced to South African house music. Like I'm like,
Black Coffee.
Oh, Black Coffee, Black Motion. I think it's someone they do the drums while they playing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm feeling it.
Love.
And I used to say I hate house music. Now I'm like, Slim, this is dope.
It's super dope. It's really organic and.
Somebody just told me Black Coffee was at U Street Music Hall.
Yeah, actually, I
a couple of months
was
ago.
part of an event of bringing him to DC for the first time like 5 years ago.
Word, you met the cat?
Yeah. No, I didn't get to meet him. No.
He only got use of one arm.
Shut the front door.
He had on when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, there was a lot of celebration, but there was also some backlash because those people were still in positions of power. And so just like in Charlottesville, some racist cat had drove a car through a crowd and hit a bunch of people. And one of the people they hit was the dude from Black Coffee. And his shoulder, he has some nerve damage in his shoulder. And so he has limited use of his arm. So whenever you see him, his arm, is it left or right? I don't know. I had to look on the video. But he would have one arm always still or in his pocket. He even slapped this dude backstage. And if you watch the tape, you see his arm. Because at first I was like, oh my goodness, G, he slapped this dude and didn't even take his hand out of his pocket.
Right.
But it was because he only got use of one arm.
Right. That's crazy. He's such a good DJ.
I really am so impressed with this guy. I'm like, for real. Shout out to Black Coffee. Superman joint and I got introduced Saturday at the Conquering dance performance at the Listener Auditorium at GW.
Oh, okay.
They had a house music segment. So these African dancers, they came out with headphones on and was showing how, because our culture is given so much. We have reggae, we got house, we got go-go, we got hip-hop, we got jazz, it all comes from the same mother, and these are the children and aunts and uncles and stuff. And I won't get too off to it, but shout out to Black Coffee. I'm a fan of South African house music, and I've been listening to it all for the past 3 days, nonstop in my house.
Good stuff. It reminds me of what you said earlier about early DC days. It was like go-go and punk.
Yeah.
There wasn't this divide.
No, Planet Rock was punk. They was listening to what's the name of the guys? Kraftwerks.
Right.
Kraftwerks was the inspiration for Planet Rock. I mean, come on, we gotta get let's do the history, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like so recently we did we helped promote a show where it was Back to the Go-Go, and it was like TCB, UCB, TOB.
TCB, oh my goodness.
And so this
shout out to TCB, man. I hope y'all still playing somewhere doing something. They are.
So check it. So we went and promoted this show and helped out Lamine and Justin from Jail Enterprises. Just a little promotions for them. And we decided, a couple days after the show, they hit us up and they said, hey, we want to come in. We want to do a live band session downstairs with TCB. So we broadcast it live.
Are you serious? They still playing for real?
Dude, and they killed it, man. They were so, in the pocket, man. Super good. Super good. And so they hit us up again, and me and Justin Yachty are now doing this Go-Go live series from One Love Massive. So every other week, every other Wednesday, we'll have a Go-Go band perform live on Facebook. On Facebook Live in the live music stage downstairs. So next time we're doing TOB. So we're going to have Backyard, Rare. We're going to get every single go-go band in the whole city that's still performing to come in here and do a session.
All right. Well,
that's what we need to focus
we're
on.
at Real. We'll carry that broadcast if you want.
Let's do that because this is where we just need to be the leaders of the new school. You know what I'm saying? To me, the most important thing in DC music is preserving the legacy of go-go and making sure that it lives on. Right? And at the same time, working with TCB that day was a pleasure. They were super professional. They rolled in. They set everything up. They played a great set. They shouted us out. They were mad thankful, and they packed up and they left. I mean, it was one of the smoothest experiences I've had yet.
There's something left
there
in the
you
bottle.
go. And they 100% recognize the value in aligning themselves with something like One Love Massive to be able to reintroduce.
I love
Go-Go,
the name.
You know,
I love the name.
Thank you.
How'd you come up with that?
Very much impacted by Bob Marley and his music growing up. You know, he's definitely a mentor to me. Mentor I never met, but
Yeah, he smoked a lot too.
yeah, you know, I try to be like Bob every day.
Yeah,
you know?
puff puff pass. Shout out to Michelle and the Go-Go All-Stars. I want to shout them out. They did like a Go-Go workshop. We was able to record this. I can't think of the name of the event right now. It was at the
library.
No, what's the name of the little art spot down southwest? It was a church and it's all painted up.
Oh yeah, Blind Wino.
Blind Wino. Yeah, Blind Wino. They did a thing at the Blind Wino. I can't think of the name of the event. It was at the Blind Wino. I can't think of the name of the event right now. Creative Time. Yeah, Creative Time or something like that. And she introduced their audience to Go-Go, and she explained it. She would break it down like, okay, this is called the pocket, and this is why we call it the pocket, and we call it Go-Go because the beat goes on and on. She told the story and the history, and while they performing, and I got it on tape. Shout out to Michelle and Go-Go All-Stars.
And you know, that's the most important thing. Like, if we lived in New Orleans and they were trying to ban horn players, will we just sit around and complain about the new people moving into condos, or will we try to save our music?
Why do you think they want to ban music in D.C.?
Well, I mean, they don't really want any. I mean, I don't think they want black people congregating in large groups ever.
No, and there's people scared of black people congregating in large groups ever.
And I mean, you know what?
There's black people scared of black people congregating.
Well, that's terrible.
I mean,
but people probably should be a little intimidated by people who are being marginalized and killed by police on television every day. They should be.
I got more problem with bougie Negroes.
Oh, well, I don't have a problem with any of any color. You know what I mean?
Bougie Negroes.
I am not co-signing that. It's not,
I said that.
There you go.
Bougie Negroes.
Well, lovely people.
And bougettos.
What's a bougetto?
Bougettos are when you want to be bougie and ghetto. You can't make your mind up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I thought maybe that was like a spin.
You live in the projects, but you won't drink tap water. Like,
right.
Yeah. I ain't encouraging you to drink Kool-Aid. You know, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, y'all.
No. I had to educate the staff about the Jonestown massacre recently.
Oh, really?
They didn't know. They knew the phrase "don't drink the Kool-Aid," but they didn't know where it came from.
Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know that's where it came from. I know about the Jonestown Max, but I can't. Dope.
You didn't know that either?
I didn't know that's where it came from.
So
I know about Jonestown Massacre.
That's what he dosed all the Kool-Aid.
It was Kool-Aid.
And he made everybody drink the Kool-Aid, and they all died.
Oh, snap. That's what it was. Oh, my snap.
We need to insert that graphic that's like, the more you know.
See, this is cultural exchange, ladies and gentlemen.
See, that's right.
Cultural exchange, ladies and gentlemen.
Jim Jones, man. Another example of a white man you can't trust. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't follow no white man in South America any damn way. Like, are you fucking crazy? You know, I don't know. I would have followed John Brown to hell. Right? If I was there, I would have followed John Brown to hell.
I'm gonna get educated more on that because I love. You know, and I think we just need to tell our stories more. You know, like I watch music documentaries all the time, and they give me so much life. I learned so much about how things went down and who's managing who and what deal happened when and how it happened. And I mean,
love interviews.
Me too.
I love interviews.
Me too. We gotta get people excited about that shit. So we gotta get them excited about Go-Go and like. It's not old people's music. Like we have to.
Shout out to White Boy from Rare Essence. White Boy from Rare Essence hit me up and make sure that I was okay and We Act Radio was okay. We did, and White Boy doesn't know me. We met one time. We did one interview, but because he enjoyed the interview, I did my research. He complimented me on the preparation and went into the interview. And in fact, I've predicted him, Rare Essence getting the key to the city. You know, Actually, he came into the interview knowing that they was going to get it, but he couldn't announce it.
Right.
And I went on, and we never talked about this. Right. And I said, man, y'all need to have the key to the city. Y'all need to give Rare Essence the key to the city. What's the problem? You know, like da. He was like, yo, did somebody tell you? I'm like, nah, nobody told me. So that was like the bomb. And he hit me up to make sure when he heard about the robbery and everything. And he offered to support us. And he like, so White Boy, thank you. Thank you to Rare Essence. Oh, also thank you to EU. Sugar Bear sponsored 2 events at We Act Radio. Shout out to Sugar Bear. We're going to get y'all. Our next thing is to make sure that Sugar Bear and EU gets the key to the city. I think that they are the cultural ambassadors. Right. Because they're just a little bit older than Rare Essence.
Right.
And so I just want to shout folks out that has helped us. you know, that and it's really, you know, contributed. And shout out to Cole Pink, Medea Benjamin, this wonderful white anti-war group. They was our largest donor to We At Creole on our GoFundMe. They gave $2,000. $2,000.
That's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. They're not having the budget for that either. You know,
and to my friends, you know, friends that didn't have money, they just, you know, gave me a hug or, you know, the lipstick on the window, and, you know, made sure my kid had, you know, something to eat. You know, I mean, I just want to say I'm so grateful that now I know I have an audience. I didn't know before. I wasn't sure. You know, you never know how to qualify.
That's right.
You know, so I want you to know that you're supported. And I think that your analysis on taking the city over and let's be leaders is not falling on deaf ears. I think our raison d'etre, that's French.
Oh shit.
For our reason for being, is that we're here, and I think that people who have been in this city for generations are the ones that should be leading. Because I always said that we have so many times seen people come to the city and they in positions of power, and then indigenous natives are subjugated to them, you know.
Right.
You know, that's a real reoccurring thing, and we need to address that.
We gotta change it, you know.
That culture has to change.
We gotta burn DCRA down and start all the way over.
Hey, people talking about, you're from DC? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, I never met anyone from DC. You live here.
Yeah, you never met anybody?
That's insulting.
Like,
you know?
Where do you live? DuPont Circle?
Yeah, like, oh, you know, like, what? I don't talk like those people. You know,
right?
I don't sound like those people, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, up until maybe 3 years ago, the French embassy the French government was giving out warnings, travel advisories, not to go to east of the river.
Right.
Don't go to Anacostia.
God, that's terrible.
Don't go to Anacostia.
Well, and I bring up this point because, you know, I can always tell when I've got a DC as fuck hater on the line, you know, and usually people will say, well, are you from here? And I always tell them, well, yes, I was born in the DMV. I was born at Bethesda Naval. I was raised in Falls Church, and I've been in DC proper 15 years. But you know who wasn't from DC? Marion Barry, Chuck Brown.
Marion Barry was from Mississippi, Tennessee.
And one of them was from North Carolina, and the other
Chuck's
one was
from North Carolina.
I think Georgia then for.
Yeah.
So.
What are you saying?
Like, we got to get off of that shit, right? You know what I mean? You don't have to be from here to do something good for your city.
Are you going to represent?
Like, Chuck Brown showed up from another place at one point. So did Marion Barry. Marion Barry had a tremendous impact on his city. Still does in a lot of ways with your summer jobs program. You know, it's a legacy.
I'm a product of the summer jobs program.
A lot of the people that I really appreciate and respect in my life are products of the summer jobs program. So, you know, are we going to take away that from him because he wasn't born in DC? You know what I mean?
Please don't take this as an insult, but I credit the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program for introducing me to white people. Because I worked in the mailroom at a law firm. It was Ross Dixon and Maxback, and this law firm was a cool gig. I actually was doing paralegal work, and they didn't tell me, so I was ignorant. I didn't know. I'm getting mailroom salary working as a paralegal.
right.
But they would have a party at the last Friday of every month to celebrate all the birthdays of the month or whatever. So they would knock off at 12 o'clock. They would bring in the catered food and then the bartenders and you would be hanging out with the partners of the law firm with the mailroom.
Right.
Fraternized. So it was my first time being in a social setting with white people with money. You know, I'm a poor black kid. I'm hanging out with, you know, I'm sitting next to somebody worth $1 million and we having drinks, talking shit.
Right.
You know. And so by watching intoxicated white people,
you learned all their weaknesses.
Nah, I just observed like, oh, they just as fucked up as we are.
Exactly.
like the whole aura, because we go, you can't say this about white people. Like it was like, I don't have that. I have none of that.
Right.
I have none of that. I understand, and I think that a lot of people, they still have stereotypes and they have barriers and inferiority complexes. I have to say that openly. A lot of my people have an inferiority complex that prevents them from seeing themselves on equal footing, even though the resources are not equal and all that. But you need to know your value. and I know my value, and I'm comfortable in whatever situation you put me in. That's why I can sit here and say, Ted Leonis, you need to meet with me so we can talk about some of these ideas, right? You got $10 million allocated for east of the river. Let's make it happen. Let's change the city. Let's change the culture. Let's do this. And I know Ted gets it because he's from Brooklyn.
Right, so I heard this stat about the, Ward 7 and Ward 8 and Anacostia in general, and I don't know how accurate it is because I don't remember the source, but it said that Anacostia waterfront property is the most sought after and valuable waterfront property in the entire country.
Let me give you a We Act Radio scoop.
Okay.
I did an interview with George Hawkins, the CEO of DC Water.
Mm-hmm.
CEO of DC Water.
Right.
Okay. Not a bad guy. Shout out to George Hawkins. Footnote, before he came on, the lead pipe replacement rate was 300 years. It means it would have took 300 years at the current rate to replace all the lead pipes that's actually, dirtying the water. It's down to 100 years, right? At the current rate. The pipes they're using to replace them has a life expectancy of 75 years. Okay. So they could actually, with government support, have a jobs campaign of full employment for everybody to make these lead piping replacements happen in our lifetime. Like we can knock this out in 10 years.
Manufacture them here.
Everybody can have a job for 10 years right now.
Right.
And replace the city pipes. Not just in this city, but across the country, but 10 years.
Right.
All right. So having said that, they are, instead of focusing solely on this pipe replacement, are simultaneously building an aqueduct. And this aqueduct is supposed to take all the stormwater drainage that's the number one pollutant in the rivers, basically sewage.
Right.
For all intents and purposes. When it rains hard, sewage overflows into the river.
Ugh.
Okay, that's why the river's brown. Okay. They're going to turn on this aqueduct, and overnight, it's going to clean the river by 50%. It's going to be 50% cleaner overnight, and then it's going to be cleaner than that over a period of time.
Right.
Okay? Now, that means that waterfront property, because the river is going to be twice as clean, might double.
Right.
Overnight once they hit this switch.
Right.
Like, so we have not seen the limit of just displacement and gentrification and housing costs and the housing crisis in the city. It's coming. It's coming. And that's why I've had people in my face, oh, Kymone, what you going to do when Anacostia looks like Adams Morgan? I'm not going to wait for that to happen.
Right.
That's stuff we can do right now.
Right.
There's policies that we can do right now because you can challenge the city right now. Ask any a council member or the mayor what is the city's retention plan for long-time residents and small businesses in the city, and they have none.
Yeah, because the only thing they care about now is revenue streams.
They have municipal bondholders that they're beholden to. The city is a corporation, and people are investing in it, much like the stock market. They're wagering on it and making money.
Right. And
if the city doesn't get a ROI on their investment, and you got to cut some social safety net services to get me my money, then that's what you're going to do, to balance this budget and give me my. And I've seen this happen. Mayor Gray educated me on this. He was councilman at the time. We was fighting for a social safety net program. We was proposing 1%. Excuse me. We were proposing a progressive income tax on the top 1% of the city. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, just do a fact check, but as of 5 years ago, the top tier tax bracket in the city was $40,000. So if you was making $40,000 or $40 million, you was paying the same percentage in taxes. And so we were saying, well, why don't you go where the money is, charge them a higher tax rate,
right? As
opposed to cutting social safety net programs like TANF and food stamps and things like that that's affecting poor people, because they do that all the time. And they say, well, we go where the votes are. These people don't vote, so they don't matter.
Happens, right.
And these are the conversations that people need to understand that's had. They say this out in the open. And so the mayor said that we couldn't do this progressive income tax because our bondholders would lose their mind. And I was sitting here being ignorant. I'm like, bondholders? What bondholders got to do with this? And they couldn't find, municipal bondholders. They're expecting a return on their investment. And this would minimize their investment, you know? And I'm like, therein lies the unforeseen, the unseen hands in all of this. And people need to understand, like, the more, it's like James Baldwin said, to be conscious in America, to be black and somewhat conscious in America, is to be in a constant state of rage, which is why I'm an angry black man in therapy.
Well,
and you don't look too happy yourself.
I'm an angry white woman non-therapy, but shout out to Jameson.
Shout out Jameson. Shout out to Apothic Red. That's what you got me drinking.
That's right. And actually, shout out to
I'm
Calabash.
off of cognac.
Oh.
You gotta have some cognac in here for me.
Next time.
We're gonna do this again.
Absolutely. We should do this on a regular basis. Shout out to Calabash if you're listening, right on on 7th Street.
Are they good peoples?
They're amazing. Dr. Sunyata, she's a 5th generation Jamaican herbalist. And their whole staff is super love, and they make amazing medicinal beverages.
I need some medicinal beverages in my life.
You do. They're not weed. Let me not, Calabash is not selling weed. Let me make that explicitly clear.
Right. But if you bought a book, they would exchange. You get a free
matcha latte. No, this is not Wash Hydro.
Hey, shout out to all the independent bookstores in the city. I want to shout them out because we're trying to bring the only bookstore east of the river, and we've been supported by a lot of bookstores. September 30th, y'all go to Politics and Prose and catch us. Hopefully, me, Derek Hyra, and hopefully Ted Leonis, Cappuccino City. We're gonna be doing that September 30th. September 9th, Bloom Bars.
Don't forget September 23rd.
September 23rd is Art All Night. I'm going to be doing something with this crazy ass, radical right here. My, Free State of Jones, comrade in arms right here.
Irish, I'm
Irish
in there.
arms.
I'm in there.
Hey, black and Irish, baby.
Hey, see that? You see
black
that?
And tan, black and tan, black and tan.
You ever seen Braveheart, man? The Irish guy was like he saved everybody.
That was my dude.
You know what I'm saying? Whiskey.
God told me to tell me that he's going to get me out of this.
That's right.
But you're fucked.
Exactly. So Irish, you know what I mean? Potatoes. Dude.
Hey, Slim, shout out to Irish. We good.
You know what I'm saying?
We're good to go.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Last minute, too. I really wanted to have you in because I just really wanted to, talk about what happened with WEAC, but then really focus on how much the community came together, So
the community came together citywide and nationwide. We're grateful for that and thank you.
And I think it's a great example of leaving this crabs in the barrel shit in the past. If you're an old DC head and you find yourself angry about a lot of things, you should probably take a walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slow it down because your fundraiser is testament to what's going on in DC. And things are bad, and we're getting things are bad. The government, there's a lot of issues living in DC, being in DC. But to see people come up with $28,000 in 2 days or 3 days,
48 hours,
and I guarantee you some people had never even heard your radio station and donated because they saw the value in that. And I think that's incredibly important and incredibly inspiring.
That definitely happened. That's why I'm saying that our station has grown in the midst of all of this.
So if you're somebody who's thinking about how it used to be, man, let go of that shit. Focus on how it is right now. Build the community you want to live in, create the universe that you want to live in, bridge that gap, be the agent of change, and take some risks, I'm grateful for the space that I'm allowed to take up, you know what I mean? In my community, and I try to constantly replenish whatever I am taking and replace it with something equally positive. And so I really appreciate this conversation. I like to just really appreciate everybody who donated to that fund and how quickly. And maybe things aren't as bad as we think they are. Maybe DC actually supports its own, and maybe we should just stop this self-fulfilling prophecy of talking about what DC isn't and focus on what DC is.
We are supposed to be the shining example for not only the country, but for the world. If this is supposed to be the shining city on the hill, it's just that we can't wait for the government to do it for us. We got to do it ourselves. So weacradio.com, support us and continue to utilize our platform. And we're going to do what we can to facilitate more collaborations going forward.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Awesome. Or as they say in Ireland, sláinte.
Sláinte.
Sláinte, not cilantro, but sláinte.
What's that mean?
Cheers.
Cilantro?
Sláinte.
Cilantro.
It's SLAINTE. but it's slancha.
All right, I want you to text it to me so I can spell it correctly and
I
use
got
it.
you.
Yeah.
I got you.
This has been a wonderful cultural exchange.
That's right. See, I won't even get mad if I hear you at the bar saying that. I'll be
That's
like,
right.
"What? You're not Irish."
That's right. It's cultural.
Take those words.
Yeah, Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. I was gonna give him as an example, man. You know, that's the thing about watching these documentaries. Like, you know, somewhere in the mix, there's always like a cool white person.
Do you know Russell Simmons
Always
did not
one-
want to sign Public Enemy, and Rick Rubin made him do it?
He was the one that, yeah. Like, I mean,
Like
there's-
really, like Public Enemy, y'all. Rick Rubin is responsible for
Right.
bringing the world Public Enemy,
right. So,
Public Enema.
right. So let's just get past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta go.
We gotta make it happen. So let's just continue these conversations and let me know how I can get more involved with We Act moving forward, because that's important to me. So I would like to be there more.
You got it. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory.
Word. All right, see you guys. My headphones.